Hi there, I'm Alex from the Southern Ukulele Store and welcome back to another episode of Off the Peg. Off the Peg is our online YouTube social media series of ukulele videos where we take three instruments that may or may not have something in common. This week there's a very tedious link between them, but we're going to look at three ukuleles from Flight, Kanile'a and UK builder Pete Howlett. Now what ties them all together? Well, it's a very tedious link. They all arrived at the same time just before the bank holiday weekend last week, and I really wanted to show them all off, and it's the only way I can get all three of these instruments that I think are very cool in the same video at the same time. So the first ukulele we're going to look at today is going to be the Flight Mustang Tenor, and then a little bit later on in the video, if you want to skip ahead or stay with us, you're going to look at the Kanile'a HNS T6. Just want to check that model name, HNS T6. And then finally, if you want to skip ahead or stick with us to the end, we've got the Pete Howlett Revelator, but a very special one with some very special spalted carina back and sides. So yeah, stick around for that last one. In the meantime though, let's start with the Flight Mustang Tenor, a ukulele that so many of you wanted us to stock. And it took us quite a while to get there. It's been out of stock with Flight for a while, but we have our first new one here in stock. And the Flight Mustang is an interesting model for us here at SAS because it's the first Flight ukulele that we ever saw. We had a Flight Mustang Tenor traded in by a customer who couldn't get on with the Tenor body. And we were really impressed. Little did we know at the time that it's the deluxe model in the Flight range as I filmed this in 2020. So we started off with something really top end from this company and kind of worked our way backwards. And as you'll know from other videos in this series, we've been really impressed with Flight ukuleles, but it's good to finally be able to show off the Mustang Tenor and hopefully introduce it to some new faces via this medium. The Flight Mustang Tenor is solid acacia, top, back and sides. Really nice figured acacia that they use at Flight. And they stain it just slightly. It's got an orange tint to it to make it look more like Koa. And I was fooled. The first one that came in, I assumed instantly that it was Koa. These have a few deluxe features that set it apart from other instruments at this kind of price. So this is around the £400 to £500 mark in the UK. You have this scoop cutaway here, which is just to help you access the higher frets and play more intricate pieces up the neck. You also have a side sound port, a very subtle one. Just wait for the zoom to catch up. Very subtle side sound port, which is it reminds me of kind of stained glass. It's a very intricate, clearly laser cut effect there. You have an acacia fingerboard and bridge, which is very unique. I don't know of anybody using acacia for their fingerboards except for the Kanile'a Opio ukuleles, which are considerably more money than this. And yeah, just a great looking ukulele. It looks like a high-end Kanile'a, but at a fraction of the price. You have Flight's very well-known slotted headstock with those geared tuners. And this model is quite unique in that it has a 38mm nut width. Very unconventional at this price. You normally find that the 38mm nut widths are introduced on Hawaiian-made ukuleles or a lot of the US brands, but not so much at the kind of £400 to £500 price point. Just waving to people outside. When I film these videos, I'm right by the bus stop, and people waiting for buses, they like to look in. Sorry. So the 38mm nut width, bone nut and saddle, it gives you a bit more string spacing and a bit more width and depth at the nut to get your hands around everything on the fingerboard. Two other features that I should talk about on this ukulele are the offset dots on the fingerboard. They're not in the centre of the fingerboard, they are at the top end. And you have the Artec passive undersaddle piezo pickup, so the pickup's there. And you plug it in there. There's no battery involved in this. It's a passive system and it's a very good pickup. At a later date, when I have better stock of electros, I will be trying out these Flight pickups, the Artec pickups, in the context in a different video, so keep an eye out for that in the future. In the meantime, this is a Flight Mustang Tenor. Let's give it a play and see what you think. Okay, well I hope you're all digging that Flight Mustang tenor. I mentioned Kanile'a, so it seems right that we would look at a Kanile'a ukulele next. This is the HNS T6, which is the Honu tenor 6-string. A Kanile'a 6-string is not something we see very often here at SAS. I can count on one hand the times I've seen them in the past, and never before one of the more premium designed models like the Honu model here. The Honu is deluxe koa on the top, back and sides, all solid obviously, with a mahogany neck, an ebony fingerboard and bridge with ebony bridge pins, a 38mm nut, so the nut width isn't increased by the instrument being a 6-string, and then you have those deluxe gold 3-on-a-plate tuners. I'm always a big sucker for anybody that introduces 3-on-a-plate or 2-on-a-plate tuners. They just make things seem more deluxe to me. But that's not the only thing that makes this instrument deluxe. You also have tortoiseshell front binding, which is a deluxe option for Kanile'a, and you have this gorgeous Honu inlay, which I'm trying to get in the shot there for you. I wish there were more 6-string players out there. When I talk about 6-string as well, this is not a ukulele, this is a 6-string. Okay, so just for those of you out there that are getting a 6-string and a ukulele confused, a ukulele is tuned like a ukulele but with 2 additional bass notes to make almost a guitar type instrument. The 6-string is a bit different. It has 2 courses of octaves that open up the tonal range a bit. So you have a high G, you have a high C with your normal middle C, you have an E, and then you have a low A and a normal high A. So the result, you can't really hear off this microphone, I wish you could, but the result is just the most textured, almost Eastern sounding ukulele sound. Either way, more people should play 6-strings. I hope that they become fashionable again in 2020. Certainly whoever has this instrument is going to make 6-strings fashionable. So let's give this one a play, and I hope you guys fall in love with it too. Right, now on to our last ukulele of the day today. This is a Pete Howlett Revelator. Pete Howlett is a world famous ukulele builder currently based in North Wales. He has been building guitars and folk instruments for 2, maybe even 3 decades, and his most recent innovation, and that's a key thing with Pete Howlett, innovation. He's somebody who's constantly refining his designs, but his most recent design, and I have only a tiny bit of hesitation in saying his best yet, is the Revelator. The Revelator is inspired by so many other instruments out there that use a chambered body to create a fuller, richer sound. A non-conventional internal bracing pattern with an extremely thin body makes for a great stage instrument, but also an instrument with plenty to offer acoustically and a very, very rich variety of sounds. This instrument most reminds me of the Godin multi-uke, but the Godin multi-uke uses and relies on a very, very intricate pickup and is designed very much for being on stage. It's also very cumbersome in your hands. This is a thin ukulele, much like the Carla Travel uke, but a deluxe ultimate high-end version of that kind of thing. So what makes the Revelator so special? I would have to ask Pete, because I've never looked under the top, but if you do look inside and you talk to Pete or you watch his videos on his Facebook page where he talks about the design, there is an internal, almost twisted bracing system inside this instrument that creates more resonance. Rather than having traditional back and sides, you have a body and a top layered on top. And the top on this instrument is Big Island Hawaiian koa, which was sourced and ethically sourced by Joshua Johansson, who is a half UK, half Hawaiian based builder in his own right that only logs felled trees from his holdings in Hawaii. The back, or I should say the body on this instrument, is a really lovely piece of spalted Karina. Karina is a wood in the instrument industry most commonly recognised as being something used by Gibson on a range of electric guitars. You know, Karina is a very resonant and thick sounding wood, and this also has a Karina neck, which you can see by the join, which I hope comes across. It's just so lovely how Pete laid this neck into the body, and you have the spalting going all the way up to the neck point, which is a really nice feature. On this model you have an ebony fingerboard and bridge with ebony pins made by Pete with his own mother of pearl inlays. You also have these Dujung or Duyung tuners, which are some really stylish tuners that Pete's been using for a number of years. Other features are the Howlett script logo inlaid onto the headstock, and then the tiny detail of the Snowden inlay right at the bottom there, just where the headstock meets the nut. You have a Korean nut and saddle, and the nut width on this ukulele I did not measure before we started this video because I am an ultimate professional. The nut width on this ukulele is 36mm, and the neck carve is quite thin, so the whole thing feels slender in your hands. The perfect stage instrument, the perfect instrument to just slouch at home on your sofa and get the best out of. I'm going to play this for you acoustically, and then I'm going to play it for you plugged in as a special treat, because that's really what most people who buy a Revelator will be looking at doing. I only hope that my description's done it justice, and I hope that when this crazy time in the world blows over, I hope that I can sit down with Pete Howlett and interview him about his career and talk about the Revelator a bit more in depth. In the meantime though, here's the Revelator with the Hawaiian koa top and the spalted Karina back and side. So let's give it a play. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you soon. Take one.